So, you've probably seen the intro video where I acted completely daft as a Max. That's not how you really run one, but I will show footage of how you actually employ the use of a Max. I won't do it for all the loadouts, but the two specific ones I want to show are the Gorgons and the Mercies, ideally. Although, having said that, I think the Fractures might be the video choice because the Fractures are really good weapons. So, for my first loadout, I use Twin Fractures. Really, you want to use two of the same weapon with the Fracture, Maxes, sorry, so you can make the most use of them. It makes it easier. That does make the Maxes specialized, however, that's the only concern. However, the anti-tank weapons in this game can also operate as infantry, barring a few exceptions. And the same goes for the anti-air guns. They can also threaten infantry, but not too much. Really, these are specialized builds. You want to know how you make these things. Now, I will go through my loadouts and then I will explain why I don't use certain weapons. Note, in the case of the Fractures, I'm trying to Araxi them. So this is why I'm not using the grenade launchers, although the grenade launchers are really, really good. For my loadouts, for this specific one, I don't bother with ammo canister. I'm going to say that right now. Engineers can give you the mags, and you can also get extended magazines, so please don't bother with that one. This is my faction-specific gear, the Lockdown, where at max rank, it'll give you reload speed, fire increase, and, you know, general all-round goodness. You want to use this for an anti-tank or anti-air loadout primarily because the rate of fire is worth it. And the spread, I think, also decreases. So I think it's really good. However, the downside is you can't move. So if someone tries to run you over, you are screwed regardless of circumstances. So, most Maxes will use emergency repair because it allows you to heal. Sorry about my wording there, folks. However, the downside to the emergency repair is not as reliable as the engineer. There are other ways around this, but I will go through them shortly. I usually run this even with the engineer because it's just so good. Having your health topped up is really handy. I'm using the wrong loadout again because it does that. For my utility slot, there is none. The Max have no utility slots for some reason. I kind of wish they did though. So for your armor slot, this is where things get a little bit interesting. Note I have not upgraded these to max except the Ordnance Armor, but there's a reason behind that. We'll go for Kinetic Armor first. Generally, of the two, between Ordnance and Kinetic, it depends really with what the enemy is using. You will get shot quite a bit with rocket launchers and C4. So you want defense against with Ordnance. The Kinetic Armor is more for when the enemy is not arrived yet and they don't know what you're using. Generally, I use Ordnance Armor for the reasons stated because a lot of anti-armor will be used against you. And, you know, it's just a lifesaver sometimes. The Nanite Auto Repair system has its uses, but the problem is damaging you, if you get damaged in any way, stops the repair and it just makes it less useful. But if you're running an engineer anyway, this is kind of moot. Because engineers can do that anyway. Although, having said that, in the lockdown build, I really should use that so I can quickly top up my health. In my implant section, we have ammo printer and salvage. Salvage is really because this is more... I should really change this, I'm not going to lie. I will go through all these in a minute. But ammo printer is because I'm not going to be relying on engineers. So therefore, I kind of need the ability to have ammo without having to keep constantly restocking. Although rearming is free, but not changing your weapons. For my second loadout, I have the Airburster. Yes, this is more or less the same as my Fractures, with notable differences. The bursters have entertaining magazines, which means it's really handy. It means you can keep firing, with little downtime. Again, it too uses lockdown, but anything will work with this except ammo canister, because no. This is the only one of the three where I will use Nanite Repair, because I want to duck and cover. But generally, it's not great, but with these kind of builds, with the Fracture and the Airbursters, you don't want to be supported by engineers, because you want to make sure you can clear the sky and air. Although, having said that, the Fractures do make a great alternative to tank busting and max hunting. I will explain all this at the end of the video. There will also be raw footage of the Fracture and Mercy specifically, because there are things I want to talk about. In regards to the implants, again, ammo printer is a must. However, the... Oh, I do have camo, never mind. Sorry folks, I got distracted now. I had to go double check that real quick. However, I use target focus for this one. The breathing doesn't work specifically, but it does tell me how far the opponents are, how far I can fire. Keep in mind that although the render distance of certain projectiles like the fractures don't kind of disappear, the enemies will still be hit by these things. So, target focus lets me see the target's health and the detection range. So, that means I could pick off the weaker units and take them out. Both my anti-air and anti-tank should be using this really, but I haven't had a chance. This is my premium anti-infantry build. I use the Mercies. Now, unlike the other builds, this one I feel I should probably talk about a little bit. Each of the max weapons in this range, and all the other range for that matter, but this is more specific, have uniqueness. Like the M1 Cycler is the balanced loadout, the Onslaught is the max damage, the Militaire has the most ammo, and the Mercies are the most accurate in a weird way. I run 2 of these because the accuracy kind of helps. For my gear slot, I use emergency repair because I am generally going to be hunting a lot of things out there. Generally, this is also the ones that I would like the engineers to support me with. Really, I should be using salvage rather than ammo printer. However, there's a reason why I don't use salvage in this build, because this is supposed to be the build where I am pushing and I want to get rid of the infantry as fast as possible. You'll notice that this is one of the 2 builds where I will use Ordnance Armor, because people will try and shoot me with a rocket launcher. They don't really shoot me with guns, although the guns are a pain, but at least you can heal them with emergency repairs. I don't use Nanite repair system for this exact reason, because I know I'm going to be supported by engineers. With this loadout here, this is the build. This is my premium anti-tank and anti-max build. Although this is more anti-max than anti-infantry build. Gorgons can threaten infantry, but not as great as Mercies or Onslaughts. Gorgons are the general purpose weapon. They can damage anything and everything, and the damage output is actually kind of nice. Again, I use emergency repairs and Ordnance Armor because of the reasons stated. I don't use lockdown, because although lockdown will be nice to have, I don't really see a use in it when I use this for hunting more than anything. So, it's nice to have, but I wouldn't really use it. However, the implants for this are a bit unique, because I don't rely on safeguard, which is I'm going to explain to you in a minute. I will explain all the implants now, and the weapons. In fact, very briefly, I'm going to do the implants and then state why I'm not going to use the weapons. So, each of these loadouts are really handy for a max. Safeguard being a must for most builds, in my opinion, because you get to revive half your health as a max and get to bounce back up. Top that off with Nanite repair, and you can easily get your health back to a degree. Ammo printer, there's no reason. I've got no bad things to say about it. Now, Safe 4, I don't know what to do, because Safe 4 doesn't really benefit me, nor does Ocular Shield, because as a max, it doesn't really matter. But having said that, the ability to reduce the duration of flash grenades is handy. Sweeper Hood is a must as well, because if enemies are carrying C4 within a certain range, you'll know when them coming and be able to like blast them. Although I do try and blast them out the sky before they get an opportunity to do so. This also includes mines as well, so it's very handy. Battle Harden reduces my camera shake and flinch from explosives and bullet impacts, which is quite a lot when you think about it. Especially if you're the max, because you are going to get shot to shit. That's also the only time I swore on camera, folks. But nah. The target focus I've already explained. It makes my life easier when I'm trying to track down certain aircraft and vehicles. Salvage is the premium anti-tank, anti-max. However, you can also restore health upon killing an infantry with a melee weapon. And a max punch does hurt, but I just use this primarily for killing maxes. Because you will get a half your HP pack if you kill the max, which is really handy. Heavyweight, I don't use that much either, because with heavyweight, sorry, it reduces the explosions. But oh, there's no... Oh, okay, sorry, folks. I didn't realize there was no downside to this. Never mind. I thought there was a downside to this. This lets you reduce screen shake by explosions, and your enemies cannot knock back you as easily. When you drop, you also cause a small shockwave. On very special note, before I start explaining the weapon loadouts, get disengage. It is an exceptional implant for the max. The knockback isn't as stellar, but you'll use it primarily because of the movement boost to get you out of danger. But you do need emergency repairs to use it. Please get that if you can. I know it's rare, but it does help you. When I get disengaged, this will change my game completely. So, we're going to explain very quickly why I don't use certain weapons. In the Fractures case and the Gorgons case, it's because I'm trying to Araxium the Fractures, and the Gorgons are all general all-round weapons. I like the grenade launcher, but at the minute I only have one. I will get to these at some point, I swear. The rest of these are just different skins for the Gorgon. So, this is basically like a short-range Fracture, but it does more damage than Fracture, and can threaten a lot of things as well. It's not so much good on the anti-air, though. With the Mercies, with the Airbursters, you can't really replace them with anything. This is all you're getting. So, this leaves now with the anti-infantry. Sorry folks, I messed up. The anti-infantry loadout, as I mentioned earlier, you've got a balance, damage, ammo, and range, as I mentioned earlier. The reason why I use the Mercies is because I can do decent damage at long range and medium range. Close range, you want to use the Onslaught. The Onslaught's high rate of fire damage is brilliant for holding points. It's good for offense. I like using the Mercies because it's a preferred method and because I'm Araxium them. The Gorgons, on the other hand, are the exception to all the rules. It is a general all-purpose weapon. There's no damage dice to it. There's no bullet drop. It will do the same amount of damage regardless of where you're firing. And it's just a nice weapon. It's just the same. It's slow. But it can be used for multiple purposes. I will also fully suggest... if you can use the max punch, use it, but I don't use it all that often. Alright folks, we know where this is. This is Nason's Defiance. I'll be demonstrating some of my max gameplay footage. Here I'm using the Gorgons. Twin Gorgons to be specific, because it was ideal. And also Battle Hardened and Salvage. I don't remember if Battle Hardened is upgraded, but it doesn't really matter because it still helps with punching. This is where my gameplay kind of shines normally, in the sense I'm able to do my job. But unfortunately, most people tend to play Maxes here because this is where Max Combat is. And the friendly Max in front of me does get in the way of all my shots at one point, making it very difficult for me to do my job. But he is armed with Onslaught or Mercy, so he probably would have had a better job than I would. I'm making sure there's no C4 fairies in the light behind me, and we've got a friendly lightning shooting what appears to be Vipers in the enemy T-point. So they're ducking for cover because they can't get to us, and I'm able to pick off a medic, which I'm quite surprised about. I do believe at some point that there are multiple uses of C4 because they're like little explosions that weren't ours. That's where the main threat of the Max is the sense that like people with C4 will blow you up if you don't have Ordnance Armor like maximum level, or if you're not with an engineer. Generally, you would want to be supported by a medic and an engineer. Obviously, I can top myself up with emergency repair, but I've got to wait 48 seconds. I said 48 seconds because mine's not fully upgraded. This is another example of not being supported, but also not being able to support the player. In retrospect, I should have used the Fractures so I can deal with the enemy vehicles and Maxes at long range, but the Gorgons do threaten infantry quite well. This I kind of feel was a bit of a no-no on my part, because while I was able to hit the NSO Max, I wasn't able to do much else. I feel like with Gorgon Maxes specifically, you need to be up front and in their face to do damage, because the closer you are, the closer you're able to take pot shots in the head, and it just makes them easier.
Now, you'll notice that, like, I'm not being supported as much. There's no engineers healing me. I'm having to rely on emergency repair. And I also noticed a infiltrator, which in light environments, it's easy to do. But in dark environments, that could have killed me if I weren't careful. It's very easy to gun down a max if you're not careful. However, one of the advantages to a max is that we are not affected by EMP grenades. We are affected by flash grenades, however, so do be careful of that. Now, I am going to also touch upon Ordnance Armor real quick, in the sense, while my Ordnance Armor is at level 5, it doesn't exactly protect me for long. This is because rocket launchers still do quite an amount of damage. I believe in this video, it was actually a rocket launcher that killed me because I didn't notice the infantry until too late. And I also got a squad invite halfway, which I thought was a little bit funny. But these are the situations I feel you should be wary of as a max. Again, I should have been supported by engineers or medics at the very least. But there's not really much you can do when you're in this scenario. There was an enemy max there, as well as a heavy assault, which unfortunately between the C4 and the rocket launcher, I was one dead max. No questions asked. Very briefly before I move on to the max, I do want to point out some engineering tips. You do not want to be in this situation full stop. Nor does the max, for that matter. The max was kind of pinned down between the stairs and the wall, and the snipers were able to pick off the engineers very well. And this is more of a threat to me than it is the max, because unfortunately I'm not able to support the max without getting shot at. I did try numerous attempts in this clip to support the max where I could, but unfortunately the snipers and the rockets were actually getting the better of me. I think after this clip was made, I became a sniper myself and tried to take him out to try and support the max, but that was not ideal. Generally, sometimes when you're supporting a max, it doesn't necessarily have to be engineers and medics. As long as you can take out the threats to the max, you can, you know, improve the longevity of the max suit. I don't fully understand why he got stuck though. I was there thinking to myself, if you're in that predicament, you don't want to be in the same spot where you can get picked off. I don't really know what happened to this dude afterwards, because I swapped classes after a while. But by the looks of things, he seemed to be holding out well. This is the part where I actually became an infiltrator to try and take a pot shot, to try and support the max. Although I did get the wrong loadout by mistake. Now, this is something new players generally will have to deal with, but again, I will try and help you out where this is concerned. If you're going to go down this route, primarily have the bursters and the M1 cycler. This is because you can deal quite a bit of damage to aircraft, such as the Valkyrie and the ESFs, but you'll be no match for Liberators and Galaxies. You will also be no match against tanks either, because only one of your weapons is able to do damage. Ironically enough though, I ended up killing more of my dudes than I did the enemy. This is because, again, infantry tend to get in the way of the max's shots, and you can't really aim for the max, so it can be a bit difficult. But this is an example where having one of each loadout is not ideal. I can't kill as effectively as other suits would. If I were to fight another max, which has, say, Gorgons for an example, I'm going to get killed because there's no way I can pick a fight with them. Of special note, this is my account from the Genudyne server, not the series server. So as a result, my Genudyne account is actually weaker. I don't have all my stuff upgraded. You'll notice as well that, like, even though I've got ammo printer on, it's not fully upgraded, which can cost me a little bit. This also kind of proves my point where I can't really do anything apart from aircraft. I can only tickle vehicles with the burster. Which is not a bad thing, because sometimes you want to scare away the armor, but it's not as effective as the anti-tank loadouts. The other reason why I didn't do the anti-tank loadout earlier was because there was a lot of air, and I figured I want to make myself useful. I wasn't doing that to teabag, by the way. There was actually someone trying to take pot shots at me earlier, and I'm just trying to keep my head down. Now, I'm going to very briefly explain why I don't like using these kind of builds, because you're not as effective against other targets as you might think. In the case of the Valkyrie, it's fine because both your guns are able to damage it quite well. In the case of the Sundra or the Mag Rider, however, that's not possible. The only gun that can damage it is the Burster, and it only tickles it. Whereas if I had the Fractures or Gore guns, I'd be a little bit of a threat. But you'll notice the moment the Valkyrie comes back in range, I'm going back to it because that's my preferred target of choice, and because I know the Valkyrie is a bit of a threat. That is until the Liberator pops out. Generally, when I'm using these kind of builds, I'm more supporting than killing, because I know I can't do any damage to certain vehicles. Although I do manage to make the Sundra and a few other vehicles like move away. But this is more of an anti-air loadout rather than an anti-tank build. Now, on a special note, Maxes can ride harassers and be a secondary gunner. However, again, not having two of the same gun kind of handicaps me in a weird way. In this case, I'm using an anti-tank and anti-infantry loadout where I'm able to damage infantry perfectly well, but I can only damage the tank with my grenade gun. Unless, of course, I'm fighting harassers or flashes, then I'm able to damage them with both my weapons. For some reason, however, I don't think this harasser had a gunner, so he uses me as the gunner. Which ain't that bad until you realise what I'm about to fight against, and it can be a real pain. Luckily, in this case, I was supported by lightnings and other harassers. So we were able to damage and kill quite a number of things. But again, this does leave me quite vulnerable, as they will try and shoot me instead. I think as well, the caltrops were making things awkward, so I kind of had to make sure I got rid of them first. I was trying to fire warning shots, but I'm very inaccurate as a max. And I'm not used to the firing arc of the grenade gun, so it can be a bit awkward to use at times. So before I end this video on a good note, and to show you some my outfits footage as well, I do want to point out two things. One, I really wish I had upgraded my ammo printer at max, because it means I'm not relying as an engineer. Because you'll see later on that I actually ran out of ammo, and I was trying to click to try to get the engineer's attention to say, please can you help me, I've got no ammo. But unfortunately it didn't really pan out well, so I kind of had to like redeploy. This also gives me an opportunity to rectify a mistake early in the video. Earlier I said that you couldn't swap loadouts to the terminals. That is partially true. If you use a new loadout, yes, you do have to use Nanite, but if you swap weapons, it is free. So if you find yourself having to swap from anti-tank to anti-air, just swap the loadout in question and you're able to get your ammo free of charge as well. So that's always nice to know. The second thing I want to point out in this video, or the clip I should say, is it will be an engagement with my outfit. And there might be certain words that we have said. This is because I was not going to use the footage for this Max video, but I figured it was a bit appropriate. But do let me know what you think in the video, let me know what can be improved, let me know of the mistakes, and let me know what you think in general. But until then, folks, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to wish you all a wonderful morning, day, new night, wherever you are. I know some pleasant gaming experiences, but until then, I will see you in the next video. Take care. Also, I want to really quickly apologise for the abrupt end at the end of the video. For some reason, Share Factory won't let me add a transition at the end, so I do apologise if it cuts to black.
Anti-air, brilliant.
You scared someone with fucking.
I scared a Vanguard with fucking
I scared them with rape.
Shit.
You scared them with rape. Oh my god.
I scared a fucker with anti-air gun. This is not.
Yeah, fucking throw grenades at the bitches up there, man. Jesus.
You realise all your weapons and shit aren't going through the shield, right?
Yes, they are.
No, it's definitely. Yeah, you can shoot through. Oh my god. Oh my god, they're all here.
There's orbitals. Throw in orbitals, random orbitals.
We don't have one.
Danny, that would have been an awesome time to use.
Yeah, I know it would have been, okay?
Enemy
Don't
thunder on top of the
freaking
hill,
question my
I'm
judgment.
happy. You're next.
Shoot rockets at the
Oh,
tank
he's
outside.
fucking escaped, little bastard. Moving out.
Shooting rockets at the...
Heading to A point. I'm running for it.
Run!
Look at that. That Susan dude just disappeared.
Oh my god, they're all stepping in front
We
of
might
my
have to
guns.
get ready to withdraw.
What kind of weapons are they using, man?
Where? This is basically the last base of the warp gate.
Exactly.
I'm
There's nowhere else
I'm
to
gonna
go.
kill it,
Realise
I'm
what's
not gonna
happening.
give them
Fucking,
the
I'm gonna
satisfaction
back
to
out. Yeah, I'm
killing
gonna
me.
back out.